I fully believe in people's inherent ability to change. I see it every day. I see people moving from one belief to another, from one mindset to another, and becoming happier and more certain of themselves as a result. And I've seen it in myself, and I still do. But one belief that I'm starting to question, that I have been questioning recently, is the idea that one person can make another person change. Because change comes from within. The person who changes is always the person who has for themselves decided to change. And then all change comes from within. Of course, a person who has decided to change or is changing picks models. They look around themselves and they say, I want to change in this regard. And who can I take as a model? Whose insights can I benefit from? And who can I emulate, at least to a certain point? And so in that way, we look around ourselves and we pick examples and we try to strive for that. But that's not those people making us change. That's us already having decided that and simply looking for the best way to implement our desire of change. And that desire, that willingness, that need to change cannot be instilled in anyone by someone else. It needs to come from the person themselves. And this is almost, again, one of those, what seems like a cruel joke in life, or what seems like a paradox, in which we alienate those the most by wanting them to change, whom we love the most. Because we don't want people whom we don't care about to change. We would never invest that kind of time and energy and hurt feelings and all these things in people whom we don't even care about. It's people whom we love, whom we see that they could easily remedy something in their lives or change their mindset on something and be so much happier and be so much more fulfilled. Those are the people that we want to change because we want what's best for them. But by pushing that change, by trying to force someone, what happens is everyone gets disappointed. We get disappointed because we see what change should be done in our minds. Again, right or wrong doesn't really matter in this context. We see it so clearly and we communicate it to the other person and they're still not doing it. And that other person, the person we're trying to change, gets disappointed because they feel like they're not good enough for you. And even though it makes logical sense, maybe perhaps in their brains, that someone is pointing out a very factual fault or shortcoming, whatever you want to call it, to them, only, of course, to increase their happiness, to try to do what's best for them. And it makes logical sense, but the will, the desire, the intuitive sense is not quite there. So they keep maybe forgetting about it, or maybe they're not actually so clear as to what they're doing wrong or what they could be doing differently. We talked about this before. Everything that stops making sense to us, we stop doing. Every single behavior, every single belief, every single idea, every single thought that you ever had that you do not have anymore, all the opinions that you used to have and do not have anymore, you only dropped those because they stopped making sense to you. Not because someone told you to stop, or not because you forgot, only because it stopped making sense to you. And it was immediate, wasn't it? No one wants to walk around with opinions and beliefs and thoughts about the world which they know are incorrect. As soon as we know that they're incorrect or think that they're incorrect, we drop them immediately. There's not even any effort involved. And that's a big red flag when we try to change someone. It's not at all immediate. It's not at all effortless. So much work goes into it. And the result, again, is disappointment. And so that what we care about most, those who we perhaps love most, we stress out the most. And we make them feel like they're not good enough. Or again, others do this to us. But so, are we just not supposed to say anything? Are we just supposed to let it be? And even though it's so clear to us that this little change in belief, this little change in mindset could have such big results for this person, and perhaps even take them all the way from a deep sadness to a great happiness. So we're supposed to just not tell them? The solution to this is the same as with everything else. We need to mind our own business. And that business is the business of becoming the person who we know we need to become. Not the person that others are telling us to become. Or not trying to make others become the person that we think they need to become. No. We need to be solely and fully focused on becoming the person that we know we need to become. And like I said before, everyone is looking. Everyone is constantly looking at others for solutions, for answers, for a way to live all the time. You know this from yourself. You're constantly looking around. Who has the answer? Who's doing it right? Who could be my friend? Whom could I look up to? Whom could I emulate in the best sense? Who could I be more like? We're constantly looking for people like this in our books, in our movies, in our friend circles, at work, at school, all the time, in religion, everywhere, right? And if you mind your own business and you truly become, at least in large part, the person that you want to be, that you know you need to be, your loved ones will see that too. They will see you going from anger to serenity, from confusion to clarity, from disillusionment to hope, from sadness to happiness. They will see this because everyone is constantly looking. And they will think for themselves, within themselves, without even telling anyone. I saw him happy today. I saw her tranquil today. I saw this person handle the situation with so much calm and clarity today. What are they doing? How is this possible? And they will keep watching and watching and learning and learning. And perhaps at some point they will ask you certain specifics. But that's exactly when the flip will have switched. And when they will have decided to do this for themselves, to finally change. And they will see the reason, and they will have experienced it itself, and they will have come to it by themselves, not by someone else forcing them or telling them. Because this whole time, they might not have been aware of the issue. They might have been unwilling to change. They might have been scared to change. They might have been unwilling to pay the price of changing. But they've been watching and watching and learning and observing and coming to the conclusion, I am ready. I see it. I get it. I want it. And that's when you or someone else, the model, gives them everything that they're looking for, everything that they can adopt, make their own, fit into their lives, and build their own person that they know they need to be. I said this before. Philosophy is realizing that contradictions and paradoxes are not really paradoxes. And so again, we come to the conclusion about something like this, that if you want to change someone, don't. And that's the way to make them change. And vice versa. If you make someone change, they will not change. And there's no contradiction in that. It makes perfect sense. I remember when I did not want to be happy. I remember then when I wanted to be happy, but knew I couldn't be. I graduated from thinking that the world is falling apart and that it's a bad place. I graduated from that to wanting to see the world as a beautiful place and not as a place that's falling apart. But I couldn't do it because I looked around myself and I said, there's war, there's crime, there's injustice, there's violence, there's lying, there's cheating, there's deceiving. I want to believe that this is a beautiful world, that it's a wonderful world, that it's a perfect world. But I cannot because of all these things. All of that changed when I realized, just like in interpersonal relationships, when someone comes up to me and let's say they say profanities to me, they try to insult me, they try to make me worse, they cannot make me worse. Someone hurling profanities at me does not make me more profane. Someone hurling insults at me does not make me insulted. Someone even violently, physically attacking me does not make me a worse person. I am what I am, whether good or bad. No one can give me bad. No one can give me good. I am what I make of myself. Think of it like that. Just because someone is nasty to you does not make you nastier. What they do is they make themselves nasty. They injure themselves. They harm themselves. When they do a violent action, they are the ones who become violent. When they hurl profanities, they are the ones who become profane, not their target. They completely miss their target. It's like a boomerang. They try to hurt someone else and harm someone else, but it comes right back at them immediately by the very fact of their actions, not some sort of justice that someone else does on them. But by their very own actions, they soil themselves. But they do not soil me. Get rid of the notion that other people's actions can make you, the true you, which is not your body, not your possessions, not your house, not your money, but the true you. They cannot get to that. They cannot harm that. And as I said, they can also not make it better. That's why others cannot change others. Each action done is done to themselves. Those actions truly do harm the people who perpetrate it. And if I participate in that, then I become worse. If just because someone hurls a profanity at me, I say right back at you, and in that way I participate in it, then yes, I am harmed. I am worse off. If I respond to violence with violence, because that's what the violent person deserves, then I too do the same thing, and I have soiled myself in the exact same way. Now again, this is the part in which I have to say, because I know I will get those comments, that just because someone cannot truly harm another, that just because someone cannot make the world a worse place for others, does not mean that we are to remain inactive. Does not change anything about justice or even about the justice system. Changes nothing about laws. It changes nothing about consequences. If you are in a position to hold the guilty party accountable with laws, with justice, the way it's supposed to be, then of course you go do that. Of course, do not remain in situations that are profane, that are violent, that don't deserve your time, that don't deserve anyone's time. Exit from that. Take yourself out from that as much as you can. But now that you know that no one can truly harm you, that no one can make you a worse person than you are, you will do it without resentment. You will do it without anger. You will do it without taking an eye for an eye, and you will do it without soiling yourself, just like they have by responding to profanity with profanity and to violence with violence. You will be happy. even as you are still in that situation, you're doing whatever the logistical correct steps in the external world to get out of certain situations, to change your situations, to improve the comfort and health of your surroundings. Even as you do so, you will already be happy. You will not need to have to achieve that external goal to gain internal happiness. That's the big difference. And so I just sort of departed from our original topic there a little bit, just to show you a specific example of how I observed real change within me, how I went from thinking the world is a place that's falling apart, going to hell, full of violence and war and crime, to a place that is absolutely beautiful. And no situation will be perfect. The world will never be perfect, but we do not need perfection for happiness. All we need is to mind our own business.